We're gonna do a lot of fun stuff in this video. I'm gonna take you through a day in feeding the madhouse, that is the quartering, and we're gonna talk a little bit about what Tim Pool is really like off camera. If you enjoy these type of vlogs, please make sure you leave a like on it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe or follow down below. I'm trying to hit 4,000 subscribers by the end of this week. I think we can do it. And always you can suggest topics and whatever you wanna see. Just suggest them down below and it may appear in the next vlog. So let's get into this. All right, for this week's vlog, we're gonna talk a little about Tim Pool, but more importantly, we're gonna give you a little bit look. You guys wanted more of an inside look. This is feeding time at the quartering household. Not my feeding time, because obviously, you know, that would be a trough somewhere where I would be feeding out of maybe like a bag or something like that. But every day after filming, the work's not done. So we have a whole host of animals that need to get taken care of, and we're gonna take a look at what that looks like. So this is my saltwater tank. It's mostly, this is a starry blenny, probably my showpiece fish. He's could be as 15 years old, roughly. Got a sea urchin there. Lots of wrasses. Wrasses are my favorite saltwater fish. Lots of different torch coral. We've got some acid watermelon something sea anemones. That just split into two, so I'm gonna sell one of these or trade for some more coral. That's usually what you do. We've got a coral banded shrimp down here. I don't know if you can see him. He's there. We've got all sorts of mushrooms. There's a blood shrimp right there. Here's just a cleaner shrimp, basic cleaner shrimp. There's a sea anemone in here too, a different anemone that is very cool looking. Oh, here, I don't know if you can see him, but there's a spiny anemone right there. It's hard to get a good shot of him with the reflection, but I like him a lot. He moves around a lot. Everything in this tank moves around a lot. The sea urchin will move wherever it wants to go. Different coral colonies. Just planted that little coral colony up there in the corner last week. Got to be careful because you end up getting coral warfare, which really is a thing. Got some torch coral, some hammer coral. So you got to be careful about where you put all your coral because, well, they fight. A lot of people are always interested in the setup underneath. There's obviously a sump system here, a protein skimmer, all sorts of stuff that keeps basically this mini ocean as close to real life conditions. There's a clownfish. I've got a pair of clownfish there. I don't like to do big fish in my tanks because, you know, I feel like, hey, they're coming out of the ocean. They should have enough room, but they see me and so they are hungry. So what we do now is we go here. I'm gonna show you how I make food too. This is my dog's food. Dogs eat raw meat, so we can only make it 3 or 4 days ahead of time. So this is the dog food fridge, and they eat raw meat plus supplements. This is a mixture of a wide variety of things that I can show you. Myces shrimp, brill shrimp, herbivore's delight, which is another kind of combination. Inside this tank, you'll see a lot of interesting fish like the salt bass or hawkfish. This red guy that's bouncing around a lot, they don't have swim bladders. This guy here, he doesn't have a swim bladder either, the red checkered one. The yellow guy is a wrasse. There's a lot, but you don't feed them a lot. But I try to use what's called broadcast feeding because it's hard to make sure everyone gets something. There goes my big boy. So we're gonna just feed him, that's plenty. I probably overfed him just for cinematic experience. Gotta get some more salt water. All the salt you ever need is in your tank, so you don't need to be adding salt and this kind of stuff once it's stabilized. But this is a very serene type experience. I really, really love this tank. And it was put in by a good friend of mine, Dustin. If you're in the Milwaukee area and you want a really nice, look at this guy. That might be the oldest starry blenny you've ever seen. I try to do a good color mixture of my fish, and like I said, keep them smaller. We got some beautiful mushrooms. These mushrooms actually have feet, and they'll pick up and move locations to different rocks based on exactly what they're, if they're not happy, they want more light, less light. Same thing with these anemones. They actually move. He moved up there, and it happens a lot. What's happening here is coral warfare. This anemone is probably going to kill that other piece of coral, which is a bummer, but it's part of keeping a reef tank. You get used to it. There's my little anemone down there. Urchin, I mean. Now to make the food, this is a little more involved. Let's see if I can put this down for a second. So making the food, they get a mixture. So each, every couple of days I put together food for them. This is Reef Frenzy. Maybe I don't put it directly in front of the windows so you can actually see. This is Reef Frenzy. It gets a chunk of that. It's all frozen. These are spirulina brine shrimp here. So I put probably 2 or 3 of those in here. And this will make like 2 or 3 days worth of food. So I'll put the Reef Frenzy away. And then we'll add some frozen mysis shrimp as well. Probably 2 or 3 cubes of that. So then we just use these mason jars like this, and you shake it up a little bit, and that'll be fine tomorrow. Once that thaws out, it'll be delicioso for the saltwater fish. Now, the freshwater fish, they're much easier. So I have a freshwater tank that is this. You don't see a lot of tanks like this, but to get an idea of its size, you kind of have to back up. This is a large freshwater fish tank with several schools of different kinds of freshwater fish in here and live plants. This one's much easier to feed. They just get, the food is kept down here, same system in here, sump pumps and a water reserve so that your water is always good. There's that little guy. You don't see them move very often. But if I can angle this correctly, Hucky, you're a good boy. There's a tube on the top. I gotta reach my hand down in there. And these guys get dry food at night, and in the morning they get bloodworms and another type of fresh food. Bloodworms and I forget what it's called. But at night, they just get the dry food and they go to town, drops in that tank. The big boys come out when it's feeding time. But this tank has been really, really maintenance free since we got everything stabilized. With any kind of tank, it takes a while to stabilize. And then, once these 2 tanks are fed, then we go to the hermit crabs. Now the hermit crabs don't need to get fed today, but I thought I would show you. I don't think any of them will be out. They're nocturnal, but they have a small food dish there that we have probably 30 different types of food that we feed them. Fresh food. We even added a second floor so they can climb up to a second floor. I forget all their names. Big Mac, Leonardo da Vinci, something else, I don't know. But their food is, so every day they get new freshwater and new saltwater. So they have 2 separate tanks for freshwater and saltwater. And then what they eat generally is something very simple, like hermit crab meal. Or we give them mysis shrimp, just like the saltwater fish. And then they usually get something else to try. So, we have a wide variety, probably 50 different things. You know, here's banana bread. This is just more banana powder, sweet corn. Here's more banana powder. Here's a Clockwork Orange, which is chicken and tomatoes, peanut butter and smelly. We've got freeze-dried river shrimp here. It really just kind of depends. I really just give them this. This is what they almost always eat. And then sometimes like popcorn, stuff like that, they'll actually eat. Sometimes they won't. But I like to vary it up. There's Colt examining. Beep. Beep. So that's hermit crabs. I wish I could show you something more interesting, but even when they're out, they're not that interesting. We have a large selection of shells for them to move into. Water on the top. They actually do run in this. There's a wheel up here that I don't know if you can see it, like a hamster wheel. They do use that. They use the one on the bottom a lot too. So that's the fish and the hermit crabs. Then we go upstairs. Yeah. Trixie, Kimber, Annie Bonnie Annie. These cats, they have basically the whole second floor of the house to themselves. And they don't, whoops, they don't much care for the dogs, so they don't come out very often. But they're much easier to maintain, so they just get 1 can of this wellness pate, split between 5 cats twice a day. Now you're probably saying like, that's not enough food. Trust me, it is. Because they also have auto feeders with like a salmon, and I just give them a little extra dry because, you know, they like it. There goes Annie Bonannie. Colt's up here now too, wolfing it down. The only one missing is Doc, and he won't come up because he doesn't trust I will lock him in. I have a gate here to lock the cats in at night because sometimes they're naughty, but I don't generally have to do that. There's Annie Bonani and Huck. Hey kids. And all that's left now is to feed the dogs. There's Doc right there. He's working his way up there. Docky-doo. All that's left now is to feed the dogs. So they get raw food, beef, chicken, fish. So what it looks like, not very appetizing, but they like it. And then I usually put a raw egg on top of each, and then some other supplements. When you feed your dogs raw, there's other supplements you have to add. But I won't feed them yet because they eat at like 6 o'clock. They only eat once a day, and they eat 6 bowls, 7 bowls. They eat about 6 pounds, roughly. They eat whatever they want. They totally self-regulate on that. So that's feeding all the pets. And I got to fill the bird feeders, which I'm going to do after the sun goes down because it's hot as hell. And now we're going to talk about Tim Pool. So what is Tim Pool really like? People want to know. Most people know him just as the guy, the beanie man, the guy that probably outworks just about everybody. He's probably one of the few people in this space that is on the clock longer than me. I guess him and Benny are probably pretty equal, but I have only really met Benny in casual kind of experiences where he's on, and it's difficult to know somebody when they're not on. So in like the commentator world, it's like when I'm live streaming, I'm on. When I'm recording a VOD, I'm on. When I'm at an event, I'm on. How is somebody when you're just chilling, when you're just hanging out? It's generally very different, you would think. But the reality is, with me, I'm exactly the same guy. And people use that against me, I guess. People say I overshare. some weirdo like losers are like, oh, sharing online means you're a psychopath. Well, enjoy being single for the rest of your life if that's your attitude. I mean, that's fine. I don't really care. I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up not really caring what other people think of me. And so when I share stuff and people use it as like a insult or as a roast, it doesn't matter to me because it's something I publicly shared. Most famously, my story about Walmart, where I didn't quite make it to the bathroom. That would be maybe a funny story for a vlog another day. It's some old lore, but I don't really care what people think of me. And so I'm the same on camera as I am off. With some people, they're very different. This is why I don't go to a lot of these conservative influencer events, things like that, because I see stuff that I don't care for. I see a lot of people who struggle with fidelity, people who enjoy partying. And like I said, I don't care. I don't care if you want to smoke or you want to drink or you want to do herb or blow or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. But that's my online persona. I don't care. There are certain things that I partake in, certain things I don't, but I don't care. But a lot of times when I go to these influencer type events, I see people who preach one thing and live something very different. I'm not quite desperate enough for views to be outing anybody, so don't hang on to that. But, with Tim, he's a bit of an enigma. But I can tell you this. The guy is always on. He does not have an off switch. He is very focused all the time. He's been right here in this room where I'm sitting right now, hanging out. And to be honest with you, Tim's a nice guy. Off camera, on camera. If you don't like him on camera, you're not going to like him off camera. If you like him on camera, then you're going to like him off camera. He's just very, very matter of fact, which some people don't like. Some people view as, you're mean or you're a dick or something like that. But to me, I grew up around all sorts of people like that. My uncle is like that. My parents are like that. Very matter of fact all the time. And some people get rubbed the wrong way and they think, oh, this guy's a jerk or whatever. That's not who Tim is. Tim is very kind. Took me out to dinner a couple times. Very kind. Never once let me reach for my wallet. So in my experiences with Tim, he's been exactly who I expected he would be, which is more rare than you would think in this space. I've worked with people in the past that are very different. The type of different, where they have group chats where they're disparaging you while they're telling you they're their best friend, you're their best friend. That's not who Tim is. He doesn't hold grudges. He is just about the work all the time, which is something that I can relate to. In fact, if I were more like Tim in that aspect, I would never have started a vlog channel because it opens you up to all sorts of criticisms. And I'm sure there are people mapping my home right now and saying, well, here's this, that, and the other thing. Oh, here's a piece of mail. Here's something. He doesn't open himself up to that stuff because he's smarter than that. And maybe he cares. Maybe it bugs him. I don't know. Or maybe it's just the prudent business decision. But in my many, many, many interactions with Tim Pool, he's always been very kind, cordial, and respectful. And I can't say the same thing for a lot of other people that I've met. I'll tell you this, someone like Luke Rodowski is super kind and the same guy off camera as he is on. Luke is a 100% authentic dude. He will drop everything to help you. He's a real dude. He's a real G, type of friend that you would call and bail you out from jail kind of thing. Melanie Mack, same thing. I've worked with her for a long time. She's exactly the same off camera as she is on. She's loyal. She's not preaching, Christ in her vlogs and then going out and doing bad things. Nope, same person off camera. Hannah Claire, same thing. Very kind, nice, measured, in person and on camera. There's a long list of influencers, and I think this is generally people that got famous, like Instagramming or TikTok influencers, that I find to generally be scumbags, who are the furthest from who they really say they are. Now, you could talk about certain quote unquote internet friends that I thought I had over the years that were willing to turn on you for $100, but most of those people that did that matched the stories about what I heard about them behind the scenes. You know, people that would sell you out at your lowest moment to make a single video and profit from it. You could always kind of tell. And I'm not going to name names, but they know who they are. Now, to be fair, I've partaken in some of the like roasting of Tim over the years. Not really Tim himself, but you know, the Eliza Blue stuff, the Jack Murphy stuff. At the time I thought, wow, this is a great thing to do. This is funny, people like it. But what I really learned is that the way Tim handled like the Eliza Blue situation and the Jack Murphy situation was actually the right way. To not bend the knee to the mob, to not let random internet people who probably aren't regular viewers of your show dictate what you talk about or what you do. And I learned a lot from Tim, the way he handled some of his controversies. And, you know, I see other people in this space. You know, there's a very big stream on Friday nights. And I see, you know, the people that run that show acting cowardly and making decisions based on what will affect their super chats the most. And I don't judge them for it, because I would have done the same thing 3 or 4 years ago too. I learned by being on the receiving end of mobs that there is no pleasing the mob. So, you know, if people start dogpiling you in your chat and you fire staff members, for example, and pretend that you didn't fire them simply because people don't like them, that's pathetic. That's audience capture. Tim Pool has never been that guy. He does what he does. Sure, he's had a few on-air meltdowns before, but who hasn't? And he's one of the good ones. You know, Tim is just about business. He's about being a good guy, being a good husband, and he's about business. And I respect that greatly out of him. And he's just exactly what you would expect off camera. He's not any different. And I've come to respect that a lot more over the years, because I've seen so many examples of that being the opposite. And that's the exact reason I don't normally go to these. Even when I went to AmFest, I didn't go to a single one of the parties. And yes, I was invited, okay? But I've seen what goes on at those parties, and I don't want to be a part of it. So when I went to AmFest, I watched football with Melanie. And that's what we did. We didn't partake in that party culture. And, you know, I think that's fine for young kids in the community. Go ahead, get out there and have fun. But you don't see Tim at those parties either. He's about his business. He's about getting the job done. And that's what I respect the absolute most about him. And so I am humbled by the business that he's built, and perhaps too late, but I've adopted a lot of the ways that he deals with internet drama and things like that, because he just doesn't give a crap. He doesn't care. And that's what I respect the most about him. And so in the next vlog, in this video, if you made it to the end, ask your questions. The next vlog will be another day in the life. We'll do something else around the house, but then I'll try to rapid fire answer all the questions in the comments. People ask where the name The Quartering came from. We'll discuss that. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy these vlogs. I hope they're just a break from the constant black pill that exists in society. And if you enjoy it, make sure you subscribe or leave a like on the video, because I really enjoy doing these. So we'll see you in the next one.